We've covered off the two thick knits I own, not really needing much more than that for winter here in Australia. But what about autumn and spring, when it's a little bit warmer and all you want is a lightweight layer? That's what we're getting into next. Starting with an awesome newcomer to menswear, a brand that was both started in, designs and manufactures in Auckland, New Zealand, Thom Morison. Hello, I'm Sam from Jessup Says. The focus of my channel is to share and educate on how to buy less, buy better, on how we can make smarter and more informed decisions before we purchase, to ensure that what we purchase is fit for purchase and made to last. Thom Morison is another new brand to the menswear scene, but they have a clear identity and fantastic designs. I was actually introduced to the brand in quite an unusual way. I was visiting New Zealand earlier this year to see my family. My mother is a big fan of running, something that I truly did not inherit, and she was running through Auckland City and ran past the Thom Morison studio. It actually wasn't even open at the time. It was just, I think it was 5 o'clock in the morning. When she got home, she immediately told me of this awesome studio with really nice menswear in the display, and we made a plan to head there that week. Those of you in the Northern Hemisphere may not actually know this or realize this, but mainstream menswear in the Southern Hemisphere is pretty awful. There are very few brands that are doing truly unique and exciting things, let alone manufacturing locally and making products in a way that is both sustainable and extremely high quality. So any brand that does embrace these principles is fantastic and I love to support. So we arrived at the studio. I was immediately impressed with pretty much everything I saw. Not only were the designs and the fabric inspiring and exciting and cool, unique designs, but also unique colors, but they were manufactured in New Zealand. I was immediately enchanted. Then I met Thom. Turns out we actually knew each other, or kind of know each other. We went to the same high school and a lot of his close friends and family were in my year, and I would consider them friends, though we'd never sort of connected or met each other in the past, sort of just ships in the night, I guess. New Zealand is quite unique in this way. It's just so incredibly small, which is quite cool. Thom and I spoke for long enough that my mother, wife, and sister got bored of our old man chinwag and wandered further along the road. Thom, like me, is passionate about menswear. He's passionate about sustainability, and he's a trained designer. He prototypes everything himself in his studio and then works with local ateliers to produce the final products. I immediately purchased the mock neck and a Merino fisherman's cap in a lovely amber, which is sort of a rusty orangey color. It's awesome. So let's dive in to the mock neck sweater. The Thom Morison mock neck sweater in forest green is an extremely well-made knit. Made with 2x2 ribbed cuffs, neck, and waist. I actually know what this means due to my wife's new interest into knitting. Basically, these ribbed areas, the yarn is knitted in a 2-knit stitch and then 2 purl stitch pattern, which is quite handy to know. It makes the area nice and stretchy, but it also helps in reducing the fabric and making it more densely knit, which is ideal for around your wrists and your neck, where you want it to be a little more form-fitting. The more you know. The sweater is made from Australian merino wool from the merino sheep. Merino wool, like Shetland wool, is an extremely sought-after product. From my research, it seems that during the 12th and 13th century, a sheep from Morocco and a sheep from Spain were bred to create the finest possible fibers. Napoleon, of all people, was actually responsible for the destruction of the merino industry in Spain, where it originated. though some sheep were shipped off to the British colonies of South Africa, Australia, and a few other places. Interestingly, Australia was apparently very difficult to inhabit in the early days, but by 1810, Australia was home to more than 30,000 sheep. Unsurprisingly, it only grew from there. Now, Australia has more than 71 million sheep, and around 55 million of those being Merino, making Australia the world's largest exporter of Merino wool. But what makes the fibre so special? Merino is known to be much finer than normal wool, around half as thick. For context, a human hair is roughly 30 microns thick, and the merino wool that this mock neck is made out of is around 19.5 microns thick. So not half, but let's say 2/3 of the thickness. Merino is also well known to be a thermal regulator, able to keep you hot or cool whenever you need it. It also is able to hold up to 33% or 1/3 of its own weight in moisture, making it extremely good at moisture wicking for those extremely warm days. If you do end up sweating in it, I know I do, I probably am right now, it's also naturally antimicrobial. The surface of the wool acts in a way that stops the bacteria from embedding itself in the fabric, so it's never going to get smelly. Much like Bossy and Harley of Scotland, Thom Morison has a keen focus on sustainability and reduction of waste. This jumper, therefore, is made in much the same way as my Shetland. It's constructed in a whole garment fashion, with hand linking being used to secure the collar. Any waste from the process is actually sent to a local company who repurpose that yarn into insulation, which is super cool. As I said in my video on Charlton, I really dislike turtlenecks, but I have trouble finding quality mock necks as an alternative. It's for this reason that when I laid eyes on and felt the Thom Morison mock neck, I knew I had found the answer. The cut and fit of this garment fit me perfectly. The body isn't too long, and there isn't too much room around the chest or along the arms. The ribbing works perfectly to bring things together where you want them brought together. The mock neck is a great height for me. I find it very comfortable wearing it on top of a standard t-shirt or on top of a collared shirt. The fabric is really nice. It's not super soft like cashmere, but it has a sort of sturdiness to it. The way the garment is constructed is also flawless and adds to the overall comfort with the lack of seams. The attention to detail in both the choice of fabric, cut, and the way it's made is certainly obvious. In terms of color, I find green to be exceptionally wearable. It's sort of become my version of navy blue in terms of how versatile I perceive it to be. It pairs very easily with blues, browns, beiges, greys, pretty much anything you could hope for without any question. Try it with a pair of jeans, like my left-hand twill pair here from Naked and Famous, worn alone as a base layer. If you're going out, a pair of grey flannels works perfectly. This pair from Jessup is always my go-to. Add an OCBD, like this one from Informale, if you need to drop a layer at some point or you feel the need for a collar. And if you're keen for that double green monochromatic look, pair it with a green safari jacket, like my one here from Seamless Bespoke. Thom Morison is a brand that clearly focuses on quality, sustainability, and design. They're making waves in an industry that hasn't really existed in New Zealand, and are doing so in a way that's incredibly admirable. My mock neck is a fantastic piece of clothing and an item I cannot help but pull on. Thanks very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.